Peace, greetings. I'm Kujo Adwell, Grand Sheep, Divine Minister for the Moorish Divine and National Movement as well. I'm an instructor, Moorish History and Law instructor for the Moorish Heritage and History School. I want to say, first of all, thank you to the Black Law Students Association at Florida A&M University for, wanting to know about their history. Right, I want to say peace to Brother Gavin for setting up this Q&A session, and as well, thank you for your questions, because the questions were obviously thought out, but being that you're law students, that was kind of expected when he told me that he wanted to do this. So let's get into this information. We don't got too much time, but we'll get to as much information as possible. I just want to put something on the record, because the first question was, are we black, Negro, colored, African American, or just proud people of color these days? Alright, that was question number one. And question number two, if not, what are we and why? Alright, so the first place that we'll start, is introducing you to somebody you probably never heard about, and his name is Noble Drew Ali. Right? That's him right there. Okay, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He's a brother born in 1886 and was assassinated in 1929. Right? He was born to Cherokee tribe in North Carolina, and he's had contact with every and majority of the so-called black historians or black educators, etc., politicians, people of stature, quote unquote black people. He had a lot of interaction with these people between the 1900s, specifically 1913 to 1929, right? So the question, are we black, Negro, colored, African American, or just proud people of color these days? So what we'll do to start, it's elementary, but we have to do this because our people have been conditioned not to read. Right? Now, we might say, that's not me because I read every day, because you go to university or whatever like that. But how many people, as far as our people, right, recognize that there's no other race on the entire planet that calls themselves adjectives? No one. Every single individual on the planet, no matter what they look like, identifies themselves based on their national origin, not based on how they look. Right? So for our people, we're going to look up black, and keep in mind that when individuals that call themselves Moors are presenting information, we're presenting information so people could do their own research, not for you to believe what you're being told, because man knows not by being told. Right? Black, adjective, M-E, Middle English, B-L-A-K, from Old English, O-E, bleak, B-L-A-E-C, akin to Old High German, B-L-A-H, black, to burn, Old English, B-A-E-L, fire, 1A, the color black, very dark, having dark skin, hair, and eyes, swarthy, or relating to a group or race of characterized by dark pigmentation, especially Negroid, dressed in black, soiled, dirty, characterized by the absence of light, reflecting or transmitting little or no light, thoroughly evil, wicked, expressive of condemnation or discredit, invoking the supernatural and especially the devil, gloomy, calamitous, currents of disaster, sullen, hostile, complete, utter. Okay? So other than being relative to people that have dark skin, dark complexion, the name, the adjective black is everything negative. And then we look at our people, we see that we're surrounded by negative. Dark cloud is only around these so-called people that call themselves black, Negro, colored people, right? And Negro is Spanish for black. So if you say Negro, you're still saying that you're black, which means you're still casting yourself outside of the human family. Because remember, everybody on the planet belongs to a nation, and they have a nationality. The only people who don't have a nationality are these people in North America and the Caribbean islands that have dark skin and they call themselves adjectives, right? Now right after black in the dictionary, it says blackamoor, BLAK -E-M-U, noun, from black, BLACK, plus more, with a capital M, a dark-skinned person, especially Negro. So in the dictionary, it's telling you that black is not what that dark-skinned person is. Black is identifying the more, and the more is what the person is, right? So are we black, Negro, colored, African American, people of color these days? No, we're not, because we can't be black, because that's an adjective. We can't be Negro, because Negro is Spanish for black. Okay? We can't be colored, because when we go into the law dictionary, so since we're talking to the Black Law Students Association, right? This should be common knowledge. It should be. Okay? Now, keep in mind that the dictionary that we're reading out of is a 4th edition Black's Law Dictionary, right? 4th edition Black's Law Dictionary. You might not be able to get this dictionary in the bookstore, the university bookstore, but if you ask your professors, I'm pretty sure that they have one. If they're law professors, they might have a Black's Law Dictionary, maybe edition 1 to 10, 9 or whatever. They're gonna have Bouvier's dictionary, same thing, edition 1 to whatever the newest is, and they use those. Okay, and if your teacher's using them, then you should probably try to get your hands on it too, so you have it, right? So we know that we're not black, we know that we're not Negro. Why aren't we colored people? We're not colored people because when you look up color in the law dictionary, page 331, color, an appearance, semblance, or simulacrum, as distinguished from that which is real, a prima facie or apparent right, hence a deceptive appearance, a plausible assumed exterior, concealing a lack of reality, a disguise or pretext. That's colored. So once you say that you're colored, then you're basically saying that you're deceptive, right? You're a disguise. And if you're identifying yourself as a disguise, people aren't going to trust you, and that's why nobody trusts colored people. It's not racism. It's you're calling yourself something that means an appearance, a semblance, and then get mad at people when we're the ones that are doing that. We're calling ourselves these things that get us treated how we don't like, and then we say that those people are racist when they're not racist. They're dealing with us based on how we identify ourselves, right? So I could pretty much guarantee that you experience so-called racism in the school as the Black Law Students Association. I mean, you're having a Black History Month event and it's 1 hour. That should let you know that there's an issue. It's 1 hour. For you to know about your history, you only get 1 hour. Find out about the Jews Club, when they meet and how their meetings are and when events they got. Ask the Hispanic Club or Latino Club or whatever, and all these other people, right, in other universities, because we know that, you know, you guys go to the quote-unquote Black university, right? So this is off your website, right? Black Law Students Association. Advisor, Professor Jennifer Smith. The Black Law Students Association mission is to articulate and promote the educational, professional, political, and social needs and goals of Black law students, right? And then capitalize the B, because, you know, logically, if we're talking about people, you're going to capitalize it. But that was a trick that all your Black leaders played on you to get you to try to legitimize an adjective as a noun, which basically admits incompetence. And as law students, you know that it's not about being incompetent, it's about being competent at all times, right? And this is not a, you know, slash on you, because, you know, we're just putting the information out there so you can know what's up. Because if you're in law school, you should know what's up. And what's up isn't in your best interest, right? Another reason why you're not Negro, Black, Colored. There's a document called King Alfred Plan, right? It's King Alfred Plan, military document. All right? This executive order was authorized October of 1969 to counteract the minority, in brackets, Blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, in their rise from up under the depression and powers that be, the government. This is what they have for people who call themselves adjectives on the planet, which only is the Blacks, which is a fraud, Indians, which is a fraud, Latinos, which is a fraud, Puerto Ricans, which is a fraud, and poor whites, which is a fraud. And they're under the category as minority, right? King Alfred Plan. The Rex 84 Plan. Concentration Camps, Executive Order 11490 expanded. Top secret silent weapons for quiet wars. Introductory Programming Manual, Operations Research Technical Manual TMSW 7905.1. And just so people don't say that, you know, we're making up stuff and all that, right? Because, you know, we're dealing with law students, so, you know, let's just give it to you, right? We're gonna go to this book called Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper, And if you try to get this book, you probably won't get it because they assassinated the author of this book because he put King Alfred Plan in his book, a portion of King Alfred Plan. So we're just going to read a little section of what he said. Author's note. I read top secret documents which explain that silent weapons for quiet wars is the doctrine adopted by the policy committee of the Bilderberg Group during its first known meeting in 1954. A copy found in 1969 was in the possession of naval intelligence. The following document, dated May 1979, was found on July 7, 1986, in an IBM copier that had been purchased at a surplus sale. Top Secret Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. An Introductory Programming Manual, Operations Research, Technical Manual, TMSW 7905.1. Technical Manual, TMSW 7905.1. So, right, behold the pale horse. Just so you know that it's legit. Right? We're not just making up stuff. The Executive Order number 11490, the Rex 84 Plan and Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, has been in the hands of the popularly accepted individuals calling themselves the Black Leaders since the early 1970s. So all your black leaders know about this right here that we're about to read. This is not a secret to them. All you people who just want to be black so bad. Alright. Many have spoken of them, but few have logistically broken them down and disseminated the information to their alluring public. Right, their alluring public. The King Alfred Plan implicates the true motive and reason why they do not. One will take note that all the people mentioned in these government plans, blacks, Latinos, Indians, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, do not include a de jure national name or title. All these words are deceptive chattel brands. So you're going to look up chattel in the law dictionary. S-H-A-T-T-E-L. Chattel brands, coined by Europeans as substitute pedigree parentage names and were forced as appellations on the indigenous peoples of the Americas and their own discards. No, all people bearing these labels are referred to as it in these texts. So if you're black, Latino, Indian, Puerto Rican, or a poor white, you're labeled as it. And it doesn't have any rights, can't complain, can't march, picket, and get anything. It's just get abused until it can't be used anymore, and then it gets discarded. One common thread is evident. No nationality equals no rights and no human value. Are any of the states assigned black leaders speaking of or educating their people in recourse? Look that up in the law dictionary. Redress? Look that up in the law dictionary. Remedy? Look that up. Sovereignty? And look that up. Do they instruct or do they not? That is the question. Remember, talking about Death to Black History Month. Remember, that's what we call this. Death to Black History Month. Preliminary memo. Department of Defense. This memo is being submitted in lieu of a full report from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That report is now in preparation. There will be many cities where the minority will be able to put into the streets a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will. He will be a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage and knows that political asylum will not be available to him in other countries. The greatest concentration of the minority is in the Deep South, Eastern Seaboard, Great Lakes region, and the West Coast. Survey shows that during a 6-year period, production created 9 million objects, or 1,500,000 each year. Production could not dispose of the containers, which proved a bottleneck. However, that was almost 20 years ago. We suggest that vaporization techniques be employed to overcome the production problems inherent in King Alfred. So they have a plan of assassinating and depopulating the planet of these people that call themselves these minority slave tags. And that's pretty much the government's plan for these people, right, that want to play around, play this game, right, that they don't have a nationality. Okay? Now, we showed you the picture earlier of Noble Drew Ali, right? Now, Noble Drew Ali had a writing called A Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations. And in this writing, he outlined some things with regard to the 13th, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, right? Because those questions came up too. So we're going to go here to know that, so that you know that an individual came to you since 1913 until 1929, and he spoke from a position of correcting our status from these labels that we're finding out about in 1969 through King Alfred plan, that they've had plans to exterminate these people who call themselves this. They're not doing this to everybody on the planet. They're doing this to these specific people. Alright? We'll just scan through some of the document because it's long and there's some more stuff that I wanna get into. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. Alright? So these principles that delude to slavery are tied to these tags. So once you use these tags, right, these so-called names, these colorable names, right, these artificial names, these names of appearance, these names of deception, once you use these names and identify them to yourself, you're classed as undesirable to the rest of the world. And this is our problem, not racism. Our problem is that we aren't identifying ourselves as belonging to a nation. So if we don't identify ourselves as belonging to a nation, we class ourselves outside of constitutional protection. That's why Negro, black, colored people always and only fight for civil rights, never constitutional rights. And if they do stand up for constitutional rights, they're going to stop them from taking that position and divert their attention back to the same civil rights, which is setting them up to be victims of King Alfred plan. Just because they want to identify with these labels that have nothing to do with the families of nations. Right? I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn, and when you hear Allah and Muslim and all that, don't have what you see people doing in Saudi Arabia and all that as what we're talking about or what we mean when we say Allah and Prophet and Muslim and these terms that you think belong to some pale people in Saudi Arabia. But that's really our culture that they adopted from us, right? And added their own whatever to it so they can have a culture. Because so-called black people are the founders of civilizations, right? And we already read the dictionary, told you that we're not black people, we're Moors. So there's not going to be any more so-called black and whatever. All those people are stateless people, and they actually deserve what they get. And it's nothing personal. But if you choose to be a slave, right? Because slavery is only voluntary. Involuntary servitude is That's been unconstitutional, and that's been, you know, abolished for years. But if you volunteer to be a slave, that's legal and lawful, because you volunteered. And then for all the law students, instead of the word volunteer, you go look up the word consent. You should already know what it means, but look up consent, and then look up application, and look up all these things that, you know, we apply for, right? Not knowing that we're putting ourselves in slavery because we're consenting to being called these labels under the guise that some black guy said, yeah, I'm black and I'm proud, made a song, and everybody adopted this term, right? But that's not what he made the song for. He made the song to actually, you know, raise the morale of the people, get the people to be happy, not to call yourself black, right? I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law-abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens, according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. And once again, understand the theme of Noble Drew Ali's address is constitutional. Being that you're law students, then you should know that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. This is not something that should be secret to you as law students, especially quote-unquote black law students, because there's questions in here about the United States government and presidents and stuff like that. And if you're a so-called black law student and you don't know the history of the United States and your connection to it, it's probably because you call yourself and whatever you do black. Because once you do that, you cut yourself off from everything. History, economics, social whatever, community whatever. Everything is cut off, right? Noble Drew Ali again. The word Negro deludes in Latin language to the word nigger. And the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. Are you painted, varnished, and dyed? Can you be painted, varnished, and dyed? If not, then you can't be a colored person. How come NAACP didn't tell you that? They're for the advancement of colored people. They're for the advancement of fake people. Fake people would never advance, because fake people are painted, varnished, and dyed, and that means that they're objects. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon the earth. For all you black law students that go to church every Sunday or every Saturday or whatever, you know that that's scripture right there. Honor thy foremothers and fathers, and days will be longer on the earth plan. That's scriptures. That's what Jesus taught you, this stuff. Right? So-called Messiah, Son of God, taught you this exact same stuff right here. Right? These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. You're also going to get yourself an unabridged dictionary and an etymology dictionary. And when you get those dictionaries, you're going to look up American, because Americans aren't Europeans. Americans are dark-skinned people. Don't believe me? If you're a student and you study, go to the second-hand bookstore. They're going to have stacks and stacks of unabridged dictionaries, because people throw those away because they think they're of no use, because that's an old book, when the old book is really what has the foundation of words, so you can know what you're saying when you say things. So you don't call yourself black just because that sounds cool. You know black means everything negative, and you call yourself that, you put a curse on yourself, you hex yourself, right? These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by the said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. Right, so that answers the 14th and 15th amendment questions that people had. How does that apply to us? It doesn't apply to us, because the 14th and 15th amendment are putting you right back in slavery again, that you just got out of. Right? Now, there was questions about the slave trade, right? What you're going to do with regard to the slave trade question, you're going to go on YouTube and you're going to search a video, Canaanland Moors, CANAANLAND MOORS, Canaanland Moors. And the name of the video is Moorish Connection to Illegal Immigrants. Right, so Moorish Connection to Illegal Immigrants, Canaanland Moors on YouTube. And then watch that, and then you'll be able to get some more reference points for you to go study. I'm not sending you to that link or that video for you to listen to that and just listen to that because you saw this and I said do that. You're going to listen to that and get reference points. And another thing I should have said from the beginning is, if you're students, I hope everybody in there has pen, paper, and you're taking notes, right? Because we're doing this question and answer thing because our thing isn't to dodge people's questions, because people have questions because they got problems. And when you have problems, you ask a question and then you get an answer. Problem is, we've never gotten the correct answer. We've always been told, you know, go march and go picket instead of write some writs. And then look that up. When you're a law student, you should know about writs, right? So I, the prophet, am hereby calling Allah with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin, and there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South, and I have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work, to bring my people out of darkness into the marvelous light. So Noble Drew Ali put that out there for the people, all these so-called black leaders that we honor and we respect and we buy their books. And they never told you about Noble Drew Ali and those dynamic statements that he's making with regard to you being free. And nobody considers him. And as soon as you bring him up, nobody knows anything about him. And when we start talking about him, people, you know, go the other direction. Like we're trying to sell them some religion. Right? Our purpose is to present the truth to our people, because we've been lied to. You might not want to believe that, but if you're calling yourself Black Law Association, you've been lied to. Because we already told you that You can't identify yourself as a slave tag and be respected as a human being. It never worked like that. It's never ever gonna work like that. So how about we leave that position alone and get back to our true position, right? Which is being the foremothers and forefathers of civilizations. Because everybody's waiting for us to wake up. Everyone's waiting. And they've been waiting patiently, and now they're not really patient anymore, right? Who are the oldest people in the Americas, and what did they look like? Who were the oldest people in the Americas, and what did they look like? So for that question, we're gonna go to this book. First World Order, and the author's name is Alim El-Bey. If you just Google First World Order, Alim El-Bey, the book will come up, right? The website will come up, his website, right? And we're going to go to page 154. The scholarly Latin author C.C. Marquez explains the strong probability that black people were the first people in America, out of which later came the red American race. It is likely that we repeat that long ago the youthful America was also a Negro continent, and that the Otomies, O-T-O-M-I-E-S, of Mexico, the Caracols, C-A-R-A-C-O-L-S, of Haiti, the Matayas, M-A-T-A-Y-A-S, of Brazil, and the Albinos, A-L-B-I-N-O-S, of Panama, are the remains of the aboriginal Negro race, out of which later developed what is known as the red or American race. Okay, that's just a little portion. David E. Stannard, S-T-A-N-N-A-R-D, American Holocaust, Columbus and the Conquest of the New World, New York, Oxford University Press, 1992, pages 119 to 120. America. The oldest civilization known in the Americas was the Olmec, and it was of black Africoid origin and flourished over a 5,000 year period. This civilization existed in the Americas before the arrival of the Red Indians. In fact, at the time of the Europeans' arrival in Central and South America in the 15th century, descendants of the black Olmecs were abounding throughout that region, particularly in Mexico. The following is an article rebuttal to Newsweek from Dr. Henry L. N. Anderson, May 23rd, 1999. Dear Editor, Sharon Begley and Andrew Murr's, M-U-R-R-S, article, Who Were the First Americans, Newsweek, April 26, 1999, is so contrived it is rather transparent as a purely political piece. It is too flawed to merit consideration as anything more than a stage presentation designed to serve clandestine purposes. Even a casual reader of the article might muse at the Bering Strait theory of Asians crossing over to what are now Canada and the United States. It is well established that the continents were once joined as one landmass, so no one had to cross over going in either direction, except of course, as was the pattern of traders and merchants, hunters and explorers, travelers and adventurers. The evidence that clearly substantiates who were the first occupants of the landmass referred to as Canada and the United States of America, is abundant in the historical archives, and one would think this information is available to such a prestigious journal as Newsweek. History regularly lied to the people, whether about Jesse James the outlaw or Columbus the discoverer of the New World, quote unquote, or agreements with of who inhabited this land before Europeans or any others came over. A clear and perfect example is the big lie known historically as the Louisiana Purchase. In all history books I ever read, the U.S. purchased from France all the territory that came to be known as the 13 original colonies. It is not what you were taught. Documents within the historical archives, to the contrary, show what was purchased was nothing more than less than 3 streets of New Orleans and 1 military barracks. The landmass of the so-called 13 colonies belonged to the ancient ones, Empire Washita de Dogdamondia. These indigenous people, who call themselves mound builders, who demonstrated construction technology more advanced than pyramid technology in centuries older. In 1992, the Washita history received international recognition as a sovereign body and officially became Indigenous Nation number 215 in the United Nations Indigenous Peoples Register, and officially recognized as the oldest indigenous people on earth. Washita Post, January 1999. If Native Americans can be shown not to have been the first Americans and instead Asians, whom we have safely boxed out, are plugged into the first Americans, will not create the scientific evidence needed by certain factions within state legislatures to booster legislation designed to strip Native Americans of such God-given ancient rights. Alright, so this is one, and you know, it's a fairly good read, okay? And it's dealing with the history of so-called dark-skinned people, right, being in this land, on this side of the Atlantic Ocean, long before Europeans came in. Alright? Not only that, right, we also have the first Americans were Africans. Okay? And this is David Imhotep, PhD. All right. Page 32. Interestingly, in 1607, Captain John Smith reported he was captured by black Indians. Just 74 years later, an interesting remark was made about the color of the Indians of New England. For the reader's reference, William Penn founded the province of Pennsylvania in North America for the British. Penn made an interesting remark that has been recorded in history. All right? So this is your history that so-called black leaders never tell you about. In 1681, the Indians of New England, or Moors as they were also called by the settlers, were pronounced by William Penn as to be black as gypsies. See Mr. Eggleston's article in the Century magazine, May 1883. This statement of Penn's may even mean that the British gypsies of 1681 were quite black. Penn was not alone. Other Englishmen who had colonized the western shores of the Atlantic spoke of the Indians there being as black as gypsies. Just to be sure that the color of the gypsies Penn was referring to New England to were black and of African descent, here is more evidence to make this meaning crystal. Further, this savage and the Gillaway gypsy and Irish rebels described by Derek as Ciuchas, C-I-U-T-H-A-C-H-S, C-I-U-T-H-A-C-H-S, or men with plaited hair, and the last two were known to be men of swarthy skin. Scientists believe the migrations into the Americas consisted of two distinctly different groups of people: the Paleo-Americans in pre-glacial times, and much later the Mongoloids in the post-glacial times. If Amerindians migrated to the Americans from Asia, as we are told, and were unmixed since their arrival, why would they not look like their Asian relatives of today? The so-called full-blooded Amerindians are said to have a reddish-brown skin tone, darker than the Mongolian Asians. They are referred to as Redskins today. The football franchise in Washington, D.C. named their professional football team after them, which furthers my point. They were not referred to as the Yellowskins as Mongolian Asians who are of lighter complexion. They also do not have the round, bicephalic heads of their Asian ancestors. Their heads are long and narrow, as Africans. Close your eyes and bring both images into focus. They are different looking than the Asians are. They are not. This is due to the fact that they have a mixed heritage of African and Mongolian. From Christopher Columbus, we have an eyewitness account of what natives looked like when he arrived in 1492 southwest of North America. They all go naked as their mothers bore them. They were very well built, with very handsome bodies and very good faces. Their hair is coarse, almost like the hairs of a horse's tail, and short. They wear their hair down over their eyebrows, except for a few strands behind, which they wear long and never cut. Some of them are painted black, and they are the color of the people in the Canaries, neither black nor white. And some of them are painted white, and some red, and some in any color they can find. Right, so you can go further if you want and do your research, because what the idea is to forget, the idea is to eliminate the reference points in our mind. For example, if any of us lived during the time of your grandparents being alive, they'll tell you that you had Indian in you. They'll say, oh yeah, we got some Indian in us or whatever. That's why uncle whoever looks how he looks or whatever like that, right? So it's been in the culture that we do have native in us, right? And the idea is to detach us from that and get us to connect to all these labels that aren't connected to this land, so that way they can take the land. Because the people who are supposed to be the rightful heirs to it are calling themselves something that they're not, which means they give up the jurisdiction, right? Law term again. So once they give up the jurisdiction, right, now it's free reign for anybody who has knowledge that that's unclaimed jurisdiction. So everybody who comes here tags themselves with American to tie themselves to this side of the land. So you have Chinese American, whatever, right? And then they tell people who look like us that we're African American, right? Nobody else is calling themselves a continent American. They're all calling themselves a nation American, right? We're the only ones that call ourselves a continent American. So that's why we can't say that we're African American, because the true name of this landmass is Amexem. You can go research that. A-M-E-X-E-M, Amexem. All right. the prefix of Amexem, A-M-E, right, and the suffix of Africa, R-I-C-A, makes up America. A-M-E-R-I-C-A, not Amerigo Vespucci like we've been taught, right? America wasn't named after Amerigo Vespucci. America is Amexem, because Amexem is actually America and Africa over here. That's why when we go to King Alfred Plan, when we go to the exotic map, right, the exotic map of the United States, there's places called Turkey, Arabia, Egypt, Jerusalem, Togo, Malaga, and other names, Tripoli, that connect to so-called Africa. Why is there places that are named in Africa over here? Because here's Africa as well. Because just like we were reading, all of this used to be one landmass, right? Just like we read, this used to be one landmass, right? And now it's gone away from being that, because there's an Atlantic Ocean and a Pacific Ocean, and everybody thinks that there's all these separate, when it's not separate. Lands sank, right? Earthquakes, world cataclysms, because of our doing stuff that we're not supposed to do, right? Do your research on the Barbary Wars, and you'll find out that we, dark-skinned people, so-called black people, Moors, had Europeans in slavery for 300 years in Europe. They don't talk about that stuff. That's why they put you in a little corner in black universities or whatever, right? This is an agenda that they've had to get you in this position, think that you have something, but it's called black, which means nothing to the civilized world. Yeah, you're gonna have some people out there that make progress, you know, like just like anywhere else, right? Yeah, but when we check out, you know, the spending power of our people, it's only in religions and hair and clothes and frivolous items. You check everybody else, they are manufacturing stuff. They have mines, and that's what their money's going to. Our money's going to things that keep us in this box, separate from society, right? That's why they call it Black History Month. That's why it's in the shortest month, because it's a semblance. It's not the real thing. So the real thing's not going to get as much. The fake thing's not going to get as much clout as the real thing. They'll tell you about all types of history during Black History Month, and they'll never talk about Moorish history, ever. That's by design. That's why the brother said that, you know, we'll get a Moor to do the presentation, right? Because we want to give people documented facts so they can go do research for themselves and stop listening to people telling you stuff, right? Because once you let somebody tell you, you sell yourself out, right? The next question was, how does the Emancipation Proclamation, 13th, 14th Amendment affect us these days and times, right? Now, everybody knows about the 13th Amendment with only 2 sections. There was a 13th Amendment with 20 sections. And we'll just go to Section 12, right? And you can just Google it. 13th Amendment, 20 sections. Just Google it. And you'll be surprised how much information that is there on this that you don't know about. But everybody else knows, because everybody else studies and they read, and they're not worrying about when's the next party. They're studying. And not just studying what they're going to school for. They're studying world history. And by us staying black, all we study is black history. And we don't care about the world and think that we're going to have a position in the world when we don't know nothing about world history, only black history only. Right? So 13th Amendment. And remember, this is history on this side of the world that everybody else knows. But for some reason, Negro, black, colored people don't know this information. Right? Section 12. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein. And the descendants of African shall not be citizens. So this is the 13th Amendment, 20 sections, Section 12, Constitution, Supreme Law of the Land, telling you that the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. So if descendants of Africans shall not be citizens, why are you guys marching and picketing to try to get accepted by these people? Why are you trying to go on buses and drinking from black fountains and walking in colored doors and all that to get some rights when you can't be citizens no matter what you do? No matter how nice you act, how much ass you kiss, how much shoes bottoms you lick, you're going to be treated the same because you can't be citizens. Why can't you be citizens? Because told you in King Alfred plan, military document, that he will be a formidable enemy because he is bound to this continent by heritage and knows that political asylum will not be available to him in any other countries. So that means nobody's even coming to save you when the European starts doing certain stuff to you. Because you class yourself as undesirable, which gets you out of the human family. Not only that, you're trying to be a citizen when the 13th Amendment is telling you that you would never be a citizen. And why would you never be a citizen? Because these same people that we call cracker or white man or whatever like that, they murdered people, our ancestors, to be in this land, to have whatever it is that they have. Right? That's the history that they tell. They say they came over here, killed Indians and syphilis blankets and all that type of stuff. That's not what I'm saying. That's their history that says that. You can't be a citizen of a government by people who killed your foreparents and actually go to them for citizenship. That's a conflict of interest. It's a law term again. Apparent conflict of interest. And like we were saying in the beginning, what does it prove? Incompetence. So you can have a nice school and whatever, but if somebody in the international community comes around there and you're talking about you're black whatever, don't think that they have any respect for you just because they have a conversation and shake your hand with a good grip and all that. No respect for Negro, black, colored people, right? So and all these people who say that they're black, Negro, colored, whatever, they say that they want reparations, right? Okay. The 13th Amendment, 20 sections, section 17. Whenever any state wherein involuntary servitude is recognized or allowed shall propose to abolish such servitude and shall apply for pecuniary assistance therein, the Congress may, in its discretion, grant such relief, not exceeding $100 for each person liberated. But Congress shall not propose such abolishment or relief to any state. Congress may assist free persons of African descent to emigrate and colonize Africa. there's the same slave master who people today still say, oh yeah, kill him and all that stuff. In the 13th Amendment telling you that they will assist free persons of African descent who can't be citizens to emigrate and go back to where you come from. If you're brought over here from somewhere, they're saying they'll pay for you to go back. And nobody took the deal.
Everybody's from Russia, yeah.
Right? And then while you're trying to leave, everybody's trying to come here. Because everybody knows the game, that this land belongs to so-called black people. Everybody knows that this land belongs to so-called Negro, colored, African American people. And if they can get you to leave here for a second, they're on the plane and they're here. And you're going to come and somebody's going to be in your house telling you that it's theirs. Because you abandoned it. Which is what's going on right now with China buying Detroit. Just go do your research. You found what China buying Detroit. Not a little house or something like that. Buying Detroit. A country is buying your land. And then because you're Negro, black, colored people or whatever, you're the payment for that purchase. Not money. But that's a whole different class. So we're not even go there. Right? Another question. Are we free? If not, why and what should we do about it? Right back again to Noble Drew Ali. So if you think you're free, go to rvbaypublications.com, go on that website and study some things off that website. And things on that website will let you know if you're free or not. If you don't know the information that's on that website, you might be physically free, but you're not mentally free. You might not have shackles on your wrists, but there's definitely shackles on your mind. And that's nothing personal, not no shot at anybody. Don't say that, you know, I'm talking down to, this is what letting you know. Because you need to know, because nobody's going to tell you but your brothers and sisters who have this information that call themselves morals. Everybody else trying to game you, get you to buy the black deal. And then they're getting paid to sell you the black deal. And you have nothing. And they have everything. You just go to church on Sunday. Just go look at all the cars. And the cars closest, probably. Right? So, are we free? I'm not even going to answer that question. Because I have a fez on. Right? My certain degree of knowledge, I'm free. I can't talk for everybody. Are we as a people free? I know I'm free. Because I know I'm a nationality and my birthrights. Right? And that's the only thing that will free it. I know Mr. Chin's free. I know Turkish guy is free. Right? I know all these people who so-called, you know, the Koreans who run the hair and nail business. I know they're free. They're super free. And this is not even their land. Right? We got to put our priorities in order. Right? Forget are we free.
The Hungarians are just moving our building. They're free.
Right? Right? Why should I care about having knowledge of self when the life I have now is comfortable to me? For that, you're gonna go back, watch the Matrix movie, right? When Neo goes to see the Oracle for the first time and he bumps the thing and she tells him it's gonna fall and all that, and they talk about that sign above the door in Latin that means know thyself. Just go back and look at that. And if that doesn't tell you something, because remember, Matrix was written by Sophia Stewart, not these two European brothers. So go research, right? Sophia Stewart, who sued those two guys and won because they stole her idea of a movie called The Matrix. So make sure you go research that, because that's your so-called black history that they're not telling you. That so-called Wachowski brothers or whatever, they didn't write The Matrix. That's not their stuff. A sister, a quote-unquote black lady, wrote that movie as a message to all her people. Right? And if you say that you appreciate black whatever, okay, well, go support your sister and go watch the movie again, but not thinking that some Europeans wrote this as some entertainment. Right? And in there it talks about know thyself. All three of them. So make sure you go watch them, because the theme of the Matrix trilogy is know thyself. If you want to know why it's important to know thyself, remember, Neo was getting wads of money to go just print some stuff and copy disc or whatever, and he gave that up to know thyself. Plus he had a good cush job, in the big building, in the office or whatever, so he was alright. He was alright. All computer hackers, they live good. Don't even get it twisted, they wear t-shirts, torn t-shirts and stuff. They got boxes of money if they're a computer hacker. Right? So know thyself, Matrix movie. Just go there, just go watch that. Next question. What are the disadvantages of being colored then and now? Like, you ain't gotta go there. Black Wall Street, they bombed it. Why they bombed it? Because it was called black. So, it's as simple as that. If you call yourself something that you're not, you're gonna get abused. King Alfred Platten told you that black, Negro, color, whatever, those are its. So if you want to be it, go ahead. Stop complaining when stuff happens to you. Simple. It's just that simple. Alright? Now, one thing that came up with regard to the disadvantage of being colored then and now and all that was this HBCU and the historical black colleges and universities and all this type of stuff, right? Same idea. Trying to get you on that black slave ship so that you can go to school and get an education, but they're not teaching you none of the stuff that we're talking about. They're not teaching you Moorish history, then that place isn't for you to, that place is for you to get your little paper, and then you get your paper, you better get out there and come back in your community and help some of these brothers out here that's going to prison for foolishness, right? Because if you study law from the right perspective, you can get your little paper that you're going to get, your little bar card, right? And come back in these communities where these brothers are getting, 20 days and a month and whatever for no license and frivolous things, right? Destroying families out here just because these brothers don't know the law. You know what I mean? And you can change that as your association. That is, according to your own stuff on your website, your job is to get the information and then come back and help your community. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to go and, be Donald Trump's lawyer and just be chilling with him. You're supposed to extract some of that stuff that he got and come help your community. You have an obligation to do that, especially if you're in so-called law school. You have an obligation to your community, right? What are some of the economic differences from pre-slavery, leading up to slavery, post-slavery, from Reconstruction to Jim Crow, sharecropping, etc.? All that, as far as economic differences and is based on, one, back then there was real money, which is gold and silver, and right now we have paper money and credit and debit, which is the sharecropping, which is the slavery, but not chains and shackles, but slavery through contracts, slavery through sign here, and then you get yourself in something so deep that you can't even get out of it, even if you pay it off. They still give you some type of tax that you'll be paying them forever for something that you're supposed to own, right? So, and all the licenses and things of that nature are all slave contracts. All the things that we go and apply for to get a card from them or to get a check from them or whatever, all those are slave contracts. All of them. So slavery is not dead, right? Slavery has become contracting. And if you volunteer to contract, then, you know, because you know you're not reading the fine print. We know we don't read the fine print. We know we don't read, you know, terms and conditions. You don't read that. When that's the most important part of the contract. And if you don't read that, then you can't complain when interest is 500%. You can't complain after you signed the contract, right? If you have a nationality though, you could complain and you can argue that they didn't give you anything. You know, like student loan. You know, they say that they give you something and they didn't give you anything, and then they're telling you to pay back something that they didn't give you, and then you're paying with nothing because real money is gold and silver, and they never asked you to pay with gold and silver. They asked you to pay with debt notes. They asked you to pay with this, right? When this says Federal Reserve notes. So this means this comes from an outside entity. This doesn't come from the government. And then what you're gonna do, since we're talking about all that stuff, you're gonna go do your research on James Traficant bankruptcy speech. Since you're law students, right? James Traficant bankruptcy speech, 1993. And when you research that speech, you'll realize how you can discharge debts like student loans, because, you know, they're the enemy, but you'll let them pay for your education, right? They're the enemy. They're the ones who stole your culture and made you, you know, slaves and all that, but you're gonna take the loan to go to the black school where you're gonna learn black stuff because you're a black person. So, you know, you gotta go to the black school. Logically, not really, right? You have to do your own due diligence outside of school, because I guarantee you, I could bet you, right? Because I had a couple conversations with Brother Gavin, right? And based on what he's telling me, there's serious potential in that place right there. And there's potential in that place right there. But everybody's mentality is on that tag, which leads them into avenues that disconnect them from history, economics, social, military, and cuts us off from everything, right? And it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but it has to start somewhere, right? Has to start somewhere. Okay. We'll get a couple more questions in. When did religion start to play a major part in black people's lives? When did religion start to play a major part in black people's lives? So for that, you're going to do your research on the Treaty of Verona. The Treaty of Verona tells you what the purpose of religion is. As far as this question, you know, what part did religion play? Because true religion is reverence of nature. True religion is studying self. Like, you know, when you ask the question about, well, you know, why is it important to know myself? Because that's your religion. So if you don't know yourself, then you're categorized as the devil, or quote unquote black. You looked it up in the dictionary, told you, right? Why would we cry out for an old-time religion if we had Christianity during slavery? Christianity is really Roman Catholicism, because you're going to do your research on Emperor Constantine, right? Emperor Constantine and the Nicene Council, Nicene or Nicea, Nicene Council, Nicene Council. And in doing that research, you'll find out that 325 years after the death of the so-called Christ, 325 years after his death is when they created Christianity. Which lets you know that he didn't have nothing to do with Christianity. Right? So all these people saying that he had something to do with Christianity, don't even go there. If you never heard about the Nicene Creed and you never did any type of research with regard to that. Because that is the foundation, right? That is the foundation of Christianity, right? The next question was dealing with, was John Hanson the first black president? Okay. And we're going to go to words spoken by John Hanson. And this is from the First World Order once again. All right. Keep in mind, this is July 4th, 1776, right? And when we think about the Constitution and the United States of America, we have to keep in mind that we were involved in that whole thing being set up. It wasn't some Europeans and they just decided to come to America and quote unquote set up shop. There was a lot of things going on before they even got here to prepare for them coming here, because they had to get permission to come here from the people who were here. This is why Christopher Columbus wasn't lost. He knew exactly where he was going. That's why he ended up here. And the lie was telling you, oh yeah, I thought I was trying to get to India and I ended up here. And I'll just call the people Indians. Right? That he met here. You know, playing the game. Right? But these are the words of John Hanson. Okay? And remember, the term black president only came about with Obama. That term, black president, only came about because of him. But go do your research, and he has speeches out there where he's talking about he's not black. So don't identify him as a black president. He's the president of the United States of America. And don't forget that Barack Obama is a constitutional lawyer. That's why he went and he signed all these UN declarations that all the other people, Bush and all of them, Clinton and all of them, didn't want to sign. Right? Because he was trying to get you to get rid of the whole black crap. Time for change, right? Remember? Remember? Time for change. Your so-called black president said that it's time for change. Time to stop calling yourself these labels and identify yourself as human beings. He signed all the declarations on your behalf after all these slave masters and slave catchers didn't sign them. Why did he do that for? For popularity contest? No, to save his people. Because he has an obligation to them, because he's a constitutional lawyer. That's why all the presidents ever since the beginning, ever since John Hanson took their oath on the Constitution. Right?
But was John Hanson the first black president? But was John Hanson the first black president?
He couldn't be black. He was dark skinned. He was, you know, swarthy. He wasn't European. But he wasn't black. Yeah, he was a president, but he wasn't black. He couldn't be black. Right? And his own writing is going to tell you why he couldn't be black. They may stretch our necks on all the gibbets in the land. They may turn every rock into a scaffold, every tree into a gallows, every home into a grave, yet the words of that parchment can never die. They may pour our blood on 1,000 scaffolds, and yet from every drop that dies the axe, a new champion of freedom will spring into birth. The British king may blot out the stars of Cache Manitou, Great Spirit. What's he talking about, Cache Manitou? Right? K-A-C-H-E-H M-A-N-I-T-O-U, Great Spirit, from the sky. But he cannot blot out his words written on that parchment there. The works of Cache Manitou may perish, his words never. The words of this declaration will live in the world long after our bones are dust. To the mechanic in this workshop they will speak hope, to the slave in the mind's freedom. But to the coward kings these words will speak in tones of warning. They cannot choose but he. Sign that parchment. Sign if the next moment the gibbet's rope is about your neck. Sign if the next minute his hall rings with the clash of falling axes. Sign by all your hopes in life or death, as men, as husbands, as fathers, brothers. Sign your names to the parchment, or be accursed forever. Sign, and not only for yourselves, but for all ages. For that parchment will be the textbook of freedom, the Bible of the rights of man forever. Nay, do not start and whisper with surprise. It is truth, your own hearts witness it. Cache Manitou proclaims it. Look at this strange band of exiles and outcasts, suddenly transformed into a people, a handful of men, weak in arms, but mighty in Manitou-like faith. Nay, look at your recent achievements, your Bunker Hill, your Lexington, and then tell me if you can that Cache Manitou has not given America to be free. Right, the words of John Hanson. Okay? And for everybody who thinks that George Washington was the first president, right? Since that's what the talk is. Right, we'll just read this quickly. This is page 265. According to the Empress Verdiashi Tiara Washita Tunica Gaston L. Bay, the real George Washington was killed and replaced by Adam Weishaupt, the Bavarian Illuminati founder, May 1st, 1776. Adam Weishaupt is referred to repeatedly in the Illuminatus, written by Robert Shea and Robert Anton Wilson, as the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, and as an impostor who killed George Washington and took his place as the first president of the United States. Washington's portrait on the $1 bill is said to actually be Weishaupt. However, the real George Washington became an honorary member of the order under the auspices of Benjamin Banneker, who initiated him into Alexandria Lodge number 21 in 1772 at the age of 21. And you can go to Hakim Bey, Moorish Paradigm, to verify that. So Moorish Paradigm, Hakim, Hakim, Bey, B-E-Y. William Mackey's Revised Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, 1966, states, Washington was initiated in 1752 in the lodge at Fredericksburg, Virginia, and the records of that lodge, still in existence, present the following entries on the subject. The first entry is thus: November 4th, 1752, this evening, Mr. George Washington was initiated as an entered apprentice. Receipt of the entrance fee amounting to £23 was acknowledged. Fellow craft and master mason, March 3rd, August 4th, 1753. Washington's views on the Illuminati, however, were very clear. He condemned them as self-creating societies and dealt them a blow that led to their disappearance. When questioned about whether or not Illuminism had spread into Masonry in America, Washington answered that he did not believe that the lodges of Freemasonry in this country had, as societies, endeavored to propagate the diabolical tenets of the former Illuminati or pernicious principles of the latter Jacobinism. After the switch, Washington, who is now Weishaupt, writes, "It was not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati and principles of Jacobism had not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more truly satisfied of this fact than I am." And that is in the Library of Congress, George Washington's letter to the Illuminati. And again, you can do your research, right? Dr. Claude Anderson, the president of Power Economics Corporation, in More Dirty Little Secrets. Dr. Anderson, appointed by former President Jimmy Carter, served as Assistant Secretary in the U.S. Department of Commerce, where he headed the Coastal Plains Region Commission and funded and directed economic development activities for the governors in the southern states. Writes, "First president was black. It is not well known that the first president of the United States was John Hanson, a quote-unquote black. John Hanson, the quote-unquote black man, the $2 bill, sitting in the fifth seat on the left, was the first president of the United States. Even in America's best-selling pocket constitution book, The Constitution and Fascinating Facts About It, states that John Hanson was the first president of the United States." And again, $2 bill, sitting in the fifth seat on the left, was the first president of the United States. Brother.
So his picture is on the American $2 bill.
Yeah. And it's like one of these kind of pictures, right? It's like a black and white. So you can, there's two people in the picture, actually. So the man on the left is John Hanson, and the man on the right is Ben Bey. Ben Bey was born 1731, making him 45 in this picture, while John Hanson was born 1721, making him 55 in this picture. He is the one with the gray hair. If you look in the Encarta's Encyclopedia, you won't see either of these men. Why is that? Their names are not on the Declaration of Independence because they were both Moors, and we had our own government. We did not need to sign a Declaration of Independence. We wrote the Declaration of Independence for them. However, George Washington and his cronies never actually severed their ties to the king. They did not win the Revolutionary War. It was a setup to trap and totally defeat the Moors from the inside. What you are taught in schools is called reconstructed history.
That's right. An accurate description.
And there's the picture right there, right? And just check the $2 bill. Okay. Just check the $2 bill. The back of the $2 bill. Alright. Does lighter complexion African Americans have an advantage in commerce and why? Right. Once again, those tags automatically make you non-economical. You become the economic. You become the resource at the time when they start talking about commerce between black people and there's no commerce. You're it. Because you're it. You're a IT, you're a commodity just like everything else over here that's bought and sold and traded and whatever. If we don't be the Negro, black, colored people, then we're not the product anymore. That's why they only use us to go to their wars and go fight in the front lines and all that. You know? One, to get us out of the way. You know, because if we're over there, then the women are here by themselves and they have no defense. When Children's Services comes, they come take children and all that. Because everything's by design. Because it's a slave culture run by some colonists. That we keep forgetting that these people came over here and they murdered, killed people. And you're gonna go to a school that they helped build, right? For example, all these so-called black schools, right? In 1862, the Morrill Act provided for land grant colleges in each state. Morrill Act, M-O-R-R-I-L-L. Some educational institutions in the North or West were open to blacks since before the Civil War. However, 17 states, mostly in the South, generally excluded blacks from their land grant colleges. In response, the second Morrill Act of 1890 was passed to require states to establish a separate land grant college for blacks if blacks were being excluded from the then existing land grant colleges. Many of the HBCUs were founded in response to the second Morrill Act. The Higher Education Act of 1965 establishes a program for direct federal grants to HBCUs, including federal matching of private endowment contributions. The Higher Education Act, as amended, defines a Part B institution as any historically black college or university that was established prior to 1964 whose principal mission was and is the education of black Americans, and that is accredited by a nationally recognized accrediting agency or association determined by the Secretary of Education to be a reliable authority as to the quality of training offered or, according to such an agency or association, making reasonable progress toward accreditation. So, slave masters set up all those so-called black schools. So, are you going to continue to support your enslavement, or are you going to do things to correct it? And with the last question, where do we go from here? Right? Where do we go? Where do you go from here? Where you go from here is hit up your professors, right? Ask them where you can get 1st to 4th edition Black's Law dictionaries. Don't be using 8th and 9th and all those editions. 1st edition to 4th edition, right? If teacher don't want to give it to you, go on eBay, go get it off eBay. Use some of that student loan money, right? You're going to watch this over again, and people who didn't have pens and paper, you're going to go back and you're going to take notes, right? You're going to form yourself into study groups outside of school, because I know they bombard you with time, and you know, it's law school. Like, I know what's up, right? I know people in law school, I know what's up, right? But you're going to form study groups outside of school, and you're gonna go over all that information that you get in school, but you're gonna use your third and fourth and law dictionaries instead. So you can have a clearer or a more grounded perspective of the information, because you're going to be going into older books to get definitions. That's going to lead you to other things that they're not going to teach you there. Guaranteed, they're not going to teach you there. Right? And not because they're racist or nothing like that, but because the protocol is your attorneys. You're being trained to be attorneys, not lawyers. Right? You're being trained to know legalese. And constitution would just be kind of something that, you know, you might study once in a while, you know, but you know, constitution is the white man's thing and we don't deal with constitution. Well, not really. Right? John Hanson was a brother. All these presidents, right, were in relations with Morocco, Treaty of Morocco, all these different, you know, relationships that include the so-called indigenous people who we read in this book, right, First World Order, that there's no Bering Strait or none of that. Dark-skinned people were here, right? We were told, okay? Also, we were told in Africans, first Americans were Africans, right? We're also told here, okay? So there's enough for us to start here and move forward in a different direction, right? If you want to call yourself black, cool. Just put a more after it. Call your organization Blackamore Student Law Association. See what happens. Just try it. See what happens. Go to the admin. Tell them change the website. We're not black people. Let them know, because you know you got the proof to back it up. And you know, do things as a collective. Don't do things as individuals. If you're so-called black association, all the other associations and all the other schools, you guys should be coming together and having conferences, right? But dealing with the Constitution and things related to the Constitution, not the legalese that they teach you, right? Because you are part of this great republic. That's why we know that black people built the pyramids, and that's why at the back of the dollar bill there's a pyramid that nobody uses. Everybody uses the eagle. And everybody uses the eagle because no one but the true pyramid builders, which are so-called black people, right? Nobody could use it but them. And no, that's not Illuminati symbol, because Illuminati doesn't even use this. People say that this is Illuminati symbol, but this pyramid is not Illuminati symbol. Europeans have nothing to do with pyramids. They'll tell you that. Right? So, if you got any more questions, you want to do any more sessions like this, you want any more information, feel free to contact myself. Right? The email is canaanlandguide, canaanlandguide @gmail.com. And also, you can check out some website references. Just throw some of those out there, so you have places to go to get some information. dralimlbey.com, dralimlbey.com. Moorish Guidepost, Moorish guidepost.com. Moorish civil letter, MOORISCIVILETTER.net. rvbaypublications.com, rvbeypublications.com. And those should do something for you. Once again, I want to give appreciation to the Black Law Students Association, the Blackamore Law Students Association, right? Big up the Blackamore Law Students Association for allowing me to hopefully, kill Black history and give you a broader perspective of who we are as a people and where we've come and where we should go. Want to also let people know that the information that was spoken about is your information. It's not some information that I have and these people have and we're trying to put you onto information, right? This is your information that you weren't told about, right? So we're just giving back to you what is yours. If you don't want to take it serious, that's alright too, right? It's nothing personal. It's about knowing yourself. And just like the scriptures say, many are called, few are chosen. And we do seriously hope that we answered some questions. And like I said, doors open anytime. Canaanland Guide, CANAANLANDGUIDE @gmail.com. Send me any questions and I'll be glad and very willing to do this again and maybe get some other people that have other levels of information to also share what they have with our family, right, in the Blackamore Law Students Association. Peace and Hotep.